welcome to The Swift Half, your weekly session of chat from the UKOCR and adventure running scene. Each week, pub landlord Alan and our favourite regular Ian discuss races, runners and anything else that comes to mind. So pull up a pew, pour yourself a drink and join us for The Swift Half.
You're listening to the 32nd most popular podcast, the only podcast to come with automatic, telepathic subtitles.
Ian, my friend, I'm out of the Turkish prison. Have you been looking after my pub? How are you?
I'm good, and we had a fantastic guest landlord last week. We had Martin Gemmell, so thank you again, Martin, for coming down north.
Coming down north, yeah. I listened to it, actually. you made a joke on the podcast about me being a Turkish prisoner, still editing it, and I actually never listened to it when I edited it. I was like, it was on speed 3, just so I could just see through anything like that. And I was like, right, I've got to do it as fast as I can because my internet down where I was in the Turkish prison wasn't great. So I did it before the guards came and caught me and published it and everything else. But I listened to it the first time driving home on Monday. And it was good. I enjoyed listening to it. I enjoyed listening to a podcast that even though I'd edited it, I'd not really listened to it, if that makes sense.
And it's always fun. Obviously, I need to be careful how I phrase this. No one will ever send you out, but it is nice to occasionally get a guest in. And you probably feel the same when I go off on my holidays to wherever the heck I go.
You're on a permanent holiday, I speak to you, you're in London in a Brewdog, or I speak to you and you're going off to some show in some foreign country to watch Les Miserables or something like that, and you're never in this country.
A foreign country? You mean Stevenage?
Yes, exactly. That's a foreign country.
Oh, I hope we don't have any listeners in Stevenage.
Anywhere south of Watford Gap is Stevenage south of Watford?
Oh, here's an interesting thing for you, Alan. Did you know about the Watford Gap and the city/town Watford are two completely different places?
Yeah, actually, yes, I did know that. Yeah, I did know that.
I didn't.
I don't even know why they call it Watford Gap, but Watford is actually inside the M25, if I remember rightly, where Watford Gap's outside it.
Yeah, but Watford Gap is a little bit further up, but not that much further. But yeah, I'm not sure. So our listeners who are down south, not down north, please let us know because I don't know enough about it and I'm actually too lazy to go on Wikipedia.
Well, one of the things that I enjoyed about the podcast, though, was that the Farmyard Jam this week, I had a couple of Scottish people that travelled all the way down from Scotland right to Derby. So I actually understood Martin like so clear. It was like listening to someone who speaks the Queen's English. It was like so easy flowing. I understood every word he said.
I think we discussed different Scottish accents on the show, and mine has quite a posh Scottish accent.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I was listening to the ones out at the weekend where, in fact, no, Gary's got quite a posh Scottish. Kosh hasn't, but he's lost a bit of his. Well, I couldn't tell the difference between either one, but yeah, it was good.
Do you reckon mine's actually related to Scottish royalty somewhere down the line, like Robert the Bruce?
I reckon if he could actually become one of them actors that donned like like King Henry VIII donned the bearskins. It would look it, wouldn't he, with his beard and spiky hair.
He would, but of course, now you put Scottish actors in my head. I'm thinking Martin Gemmell, new James Bond.
Sean Connery. Was it? No, I was thinking, what was he? What was called Sean Connery? What did he play that's Scottish then?
James Bond.
Yeah, but I was thinking, because he is Scottish, yeah, Sean Connery. But wasn't it funny when he played in Highlander? He played a Spanish sword fighter in Highlander in Scotland.
That was actually funny. What was your favourite Sean Connery movie?
Highlander. I'm always a Highlander fan. I've one of the first films I ever saw, and I loved Highlander. And I think he played an amazing part because he was more of a support actor. So when I watch it, I think they played an amazing part in that, and yeah.
My favourite was The Rock, and not the wrestler, the film The Rock.
When he escaped from Alcatraz.
Yes, he was just so funny in that. Him and Nicolas Cage were just naturals. I really hope that in life they were good friends as well, because it just shone through there, didn't it?
Yeah, yeah. I like Nicolas Cage. He's one of my favourite actors. I liked him when he played alongside John Travolta in, was it Face Off?
Yes, that was such a good movie. Actually, I've got a really interesting story about Face Off. Face Off came out in America, I want to say either 95 or 96, because that's where me and my dad and my sister, we went over to LA.
Right.
So we went over to LA, and my dad has always wanted to watch a film at, is it Chinese Man Theatre or
Oh,
Man
yeah.
Chinese Theatre?
Where they've got all the stars outside on the pavement.
Exactly. So we went there, we watched this film Face Off. It was a good film. Yeah, it's an action film. I want to say I was about 11, maybe 12 at the time. I can't remember. It was a while ago. I know I'm aging myself, listeners, and I tend to pretend I'm much younger than I am. But yeah, I think I was around that age. And it's a good film, yeah?
Yeah, it is, yeah.
And this was back in the day. And the Libby Joyces of the world who are listening to this will think this is really weird. Do you remember back in the day when America got films like 6 months before we did?
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah.
And that's kind of why we watched it, because it wasn't out yet in the UK. And my dad wanted to watch it before anyone else.
Oh, yeah. And I remember you used to get the DVDs, didn't you? And they were like the pirate copies of DVDs that had been filmed in cinemas in America. And you got them out about 3 or 4 months before they came to the UK. Someone had shipped it over here in a black duffel coat or whatever.
Exactly. I didn't do that, but I did watch Face Off with my dad before it came out over here. And for those of you who don't know, listener, my dad and my mum, they divorced a long time ago. So this was a holiday with just my dad. And yeah, obviously I came back. I lived with my mum. Okay. So 4 months later, Face Off comes out.
Yeah.
And it gets given an 18 rating.
And you were 11 or 12. You didn't tell your mum you'd watched it, did you?
Oh, we told her beforehand. As you can imagine, my mum played holy hell with my dad.
Oh, yes. That's a one-up in any split family. Oh, that's bad, Ian. That's bad. I suppose the best move. Go on. Was you going to say something then?
I was going to say we didn't know what the ratings were of there. It must have been like a PG-13 or an NC something or other. Again, this is the weird thing, isn't it? But different countries have different ratings for certain things. Like, did you know this, Alan, that in America you can get away with a lot more violence?
Right. Because they live with it. Like they live with guns and things like that in America.
In the UK and Europe, in particular Europe, you can get away with a lot more, shall we say, exotic scenes. We'll keep it PG-13.
Right.
And I'm not sure, listener, get in touch. Would you want more violence or would you want more exotic scenes?
Isn't that the same with so many things? So you look at drinking in America, it's 21, the UK is 18, but you go to France and at the age of 10, people are drinking wine. You know, it's every culture has different views on different aspects of life, don't they?
They do. And do you know the drinking thing? I once asked someone why that was, and they pointed out something that I had never realised.
What's that?
Well, over here, you think nothing of going to a pub and then just wandering back to your house.
Yeah.
You can't really do that in America.
No, you can't. Not unless you're going to cities, but the pubs are quite spread out. Aren't they? They're like on the side of highways, on the side of motorways.
So exactly. So what they didn't want is kids who were potentially immature who could drive from the age of 16 drinking and driving. So I don't know if it's an urban myth or not, but it's one of the things that gets bandied about as to why to keep the drink limit at 21 is it helps limit the number of kids who are drinking and driving.
That's interesting. That is very interesting. That quite a. I wouldn't know if that's an urban myth now. Matt B. Davis listens to this. He might be able to tell if it's an urban myth or not.
Or Sophia, our good friend Sophia, will be able to tell us.
Yes, I'm sure someone will. Shall we move on from Movie Corner?
Yeah, let's move on from Movie Corner. See, listener, you missed this. I think me and Martin got right to the nuts and bolts last week, whereas me and Alan take a little while to get there. We've not even talked about what we're drinking.
No, that's it. We haven't. So my first thing then, Ian, what are you drinking tonight, good man?
We are on the Tango Paradise Punch tonight. It's sugar-free.
Oh, very nice. So Paradise Punch, coconut, lychee, passion fruit,
Orange and mango.
orange and mango. There we go.
It's not paradise punch, is it? It's the equivalent of your grandma having a baked potato and sticking cocktail sausages and cheese in a cocktail stick at Christmas.
Yeah, it is. That's it's not really that tangly.
No. What are you on?
Well, do you know in Barclays Marathon, how everyone brings Lazarus number plates, don't they?
They do, yes.
Yeah. Well, it seems that Farmyard Jam is becoming the place to bring Alan beer. Okay. So, and I say this now because I cannot remember who gave me this one. So, to all of you guys, I know I can't name you all. I know several of you did. I don't want to miss anyone out, so I'm not going to name anyone. Thank you very much to everyone who bought me beer. And tonight, I am drinking Ockles IPA, a pure perfection Indian Pale Ale, 4.5%. It is very, very nice. But I'm going to try and drink them all for the next couple of weeks. I think I've got about 10 or 12 beers, and I just can't remember who brought them all to me.
Well, if this was your beer, get in touch, let us know, and we'll give you a shout out at the next time. Alan, why don't you get a list for next time and you can read out the order you're going to do them in, and we'll see if we can match the beer to the person.
Oh, that'd be pretty cool. You know, I never even thought of it. You know what? I was that busy, and I never even thought of it. And literally, I'll tell you some of the stories in a minute. But one of the stories is it rained really heavily on Thursday, and this causes major problems. So all Thursday evening, right through to early Friday morning, the ground got churned up, which meant that we couldn't have the car park where we wanted the car park, and especially for Farmyard Jammers. It's because Farmyard Jammers are right in the finish line area, in between the start and the finish line. They took a whole space up, about 150 metres long and about 40 metres wide. That was their space. However, we couldn't get them on, all the cars on there, especially if they were low slung, because the rain had churned everything up. So you needed a high car, because there were ruts. You needed a 4x4 ideally. So this meant that if they had low slung cars, I was driving down in my 4x4 to the car park where we parked everyone, which was okay, nice and flat. Cars could get there, the normal cars. And I was taking them, I was with my trailer, and I was loading the trailer up and then taking all their stuff up to the, where they would pitch their tent and things like that. So I was doing that, and literally people were jumping in my car and going, "Oh, Alan, I brought you these." And I'm going, "Oh, cool, thank you." And I'll put them back in my seat. And then someone else next to me, "I've got these for you, Alan." And I'm like, "Oh, thank you. I'll put them back in my seat." And I was literally, it was that hectic. I mean, I did 30, 40 trips on Saturday morning, taking kit up for people. Luckily, we only had one car get stuck. Or two, actually. We got a caravan got stuck because the caterer's caravan got stuck, even though I told them not to go a certain way. They still decided to go a certain way. And then we had a VW camper that got stuck at one point, which I was very nervous about towing out, especially Jamie towed it out with his big 4x4 that was like, it's an automatic. And Jamie, when he puts his foot down, he has one of these heavy feet that just churns everything up. So his 4x4 got covered in mud, and this camper van got covered in mud. But yeah, he got it out, which was the main thing.
Which absolutely was the main thing. And you mentioned it's horrible when it rains. Is that because Jamie spends so long doing his hair that he then has to just go back and do it again?
Yes, it does. And for people who came to the race know that Jamie has no hair. But yeah, he got sunburn on his head. He actually got his head sunburned because he forgot to bring his sun cream down. So bless him on that. He put up with that all week.
Jamie. I was really upset, and we may or may not go into reasons why I didn't attend, but Farmyard Jam tends to be where I see Jamie for once a year, if he doesn't attend the end of year do. So it's now been over a year since I've seen Jamie, and that's not good. I need more Jamie in my life.
You're quite right. You're quite right. You just said there, we do actually need to tell our listeners in why you weren't there, because I got asked dozens of times from overloaders and jammers, "Where's Ian? Where's Ian? Where's Ian?" And I just said, you have got to listen to the podcast on Friday that's coming out next week, because I'm not going to tell you where Ian is. So, Ian, the race that shan't be mentioned, You get a free invite every year. You and Jen, you couldn't be bothered to turn up. Whatever reason you're going to give is not good enough in my books. But you tell our listeners why you couldn't make it.
Well, thank you for the build up, given that it is one of the most lamest reasons ever. But anyway, right, listener, believe it or not, I was meeting the local councillor, and yes, that is as lame as it perhaps sounds, unless your local councillor is Dan Lister and you're meeting a brewdog, which would be perfect.
Yes. Oh, that would be absolutely amazing.
Unfortunately, he isn't my local councillor, and it wasn't a brewdog. We have an issue with the back near us. We've got a road which no one is claiming to own. So it's allegedly unadopted.
So can I claim it and build an house on it?
By all means, please do. You would so help us. But it's apparently unadopted. We're not sure who owns it, but we've got a problem with I'm not going to name what type of business it is, but a local business drives there and has a bit of a car park, but it's not really a car park. And their customers speed in, put full lock on their steering wheel, and they have dug a hole in it. Alan, I showed you the pictures of this hole.
You did.
And honestly, Jamie's 4x4 would get lost in it.
It was bigger than some of the ruts that we had down at Farmyard and Overlord. It was, Ian, they were deep.
So long story short, we got in touch with a local council because we needed their help because the owners of this business are just refusing to engage. We want to repair the road. We've done it 3 or 4 times already by putting shipping down, but we wanted to repair it, but they're just refusing to pay, and they never have paid. So we wanted the councillors' help, and all the local neighbours have got behind this. This is the first time I've seen them get excited since the coronation. So
Which coronation, Elizabeth's or the King's?
Maybe Elizabeth's. But yeah, definitely the King's. But because of that, when I got collared a few days before it, I got said, "Oh, the councillor is coming, and we all need to be there to meet him." And I've been copying into emails. Thanks, junk mail. But anyway, copying me into emails, and yeah, we'll all be there to meet him. And I said, absolutely, any evening's fine for me. Let me know when. I will be there. And yeah, that was fine. And then a day after, they were like, right, can you be there at 10:30 on Saturday? Oh. Was my excuse.
Like cash.
Yeah. Yeah, it was, oh, great. Yeah, okay. And then I thought, okay, it's fine. It'll take maybe half an hour. I can come. Can I message you and said, what time does the jam happen? Because I was hopeful I can make the jam.
Yeah.
And then it went on and on. And you have to have a post meeting with the residents as well, which went on and on. Eventually finished up about 12, checked the Google machine, the Google Maps, because it wasn't pouring it down. It was jam-packed on every single road between here and Derby. I think it was showing me 2.5 hours, and I don't trust the Google machine because I've been down those roads. So I messaged you, I apologized and just said, look, not really going to happen because I'm stuck here in sunny Rochdale. So listeners, I know none of you were there to see me, but I am so sorry I wasn't there. But you did have Jamie, you did have Alan, you did have Katie, you did have B, you did have Michelle, you did have probably a dozen people that I'm forgetting. Oh, and you had James Burton, who gave the best commentary this side of a UKHXR production.
Yeah, he did. Yeah, he did. It was good. It was good, but we'll come to that in a bit.
Oh, apologies that I wasn't there. I'm kind of like the little garnish on the side of everything else. But yeah, sorry you didn't get garnish, but I'm happy you did get your main course of Alan, Jamie, and the race.
It were good, Ian. It were good. It were good. I don't know where to start about it because behind the scenes, it was chaotic. Not the race, the lead up to the race. I'm going to say first of all, I want to say a massive shout out to Nick Sullivan at Towergate Insurance because at my normal insurance firm that I used came in at such a stupid amount there were no way we could have put the race on. I'd have been better off giving everyone a refund come Monday. But Nick Sullivan at Towergate Insurance came in with quite a reasonable fee for the insurance. So big shout out to Nick, because I was talking to him all week, and the underwriters and everything else getting the insurance sorted out for the race. So big thanks to Nick. And then behind the scenes on the day, the photographers never turned up, which was even worse for us here, because everyone was photographers. And so a massive shout to all the volunteers, and I'm still getting photos in now from volunteers. We asked them if they could take photos, it'd be brilliant. I tell you what, some of these volunteers, Ian, could be like the equivalent of like David Bailey, the photographer. There are some top quality pictures. Not going to name everyone because I've got loads from everyone, but several of them are Patreons. So a big thank you to them as well.
So are we going to be spending Patreon money on getting these guys tickets to go and take us pictures?
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, that's it. Yeah, that's it. Ian, but you missed so much. I mean, there's so much to talk about. I've made a few notes because I don't want to. I could talk about it all for a week, Ian. But first of all, I'm going to give a big shout out to Overload Race. Went off. 55 people set off. We tried a new timing system which worked absolutely brilliant. But big shout out to the winners. Leo Chester and Libby Joyce won the race outright. So we had two juniors win the race outright. In the men's, Leo's father, James, came second as well, but they didn't run together. Leo actually went off at a right pace. It was great to see him. Every obstacle was completed with ease, and that I'm told. You know, they like went over them like no one's business. So Overload went off to a key, but youngsters beating adults. I know we didn't have none of the, Dassos and Russell Walsh and some of the female athletes were out there for Farmyard and that rather than Overload. But it was great to see, the juniors going out there and smashing it.
I'm just upset I didn't come down there, Alan. Had I come down, I would have finished 56 and Leo would have beaten 55 people, not 54.
Exactly, mate. You'd have got in top 100.
Yes, I would. First time ever at Overload.
Oh yeah, it was absolutely amazing. The whole event on Overload was really, really good. One of the things I did do while I was down there, Ian, which we talked about B Wood marshalling and getting a wheelchair out, and I helped B get to the first obstacle. So I went from the start line all the way up and around. So I ran about 200 meters pushing her, got her to the first obstacle. I was out of breath, Ian. I went, right, that's it, you're done by me. Get on, rest of me can help. But I had to go in her wheelchair. And it's interesting because I've been speaking a lot to B about para-athletes. And this is my first topic of the day. Partly Farmyard Jam, partly Overload, but partly also OCR in general. Now, in 2019, Spartan over in the States did a para-wave that involved wheelchair and teams. So teams could go and take the wheelchair around. I think they call it the Para World Championship. So I can't remember the venue. Looks pretty good. I think it's 3 or 4 people. It looks like 4 people actually pulling someone in a wheelchair and getting around the course. However, the British champs this year have decided in their rules. So I'm going to get the rule up and see what you think to this. So it says, is the course suitable for wheelchairs? The course is not suitable for wheelchair user. If you are a wheelchair athlete who is able to independently self-propel and overcome obstacles, then you can register for the British champs. Now, that's a bit of a catch-22, that, because there is no way that a self-propelled wheelchair is going to get around an obstacle course race. And I can say this after testing it out. So I tested B's wheelchair out. It has 2 arms that you push backwards and forwards to make it go. There's a brake on the left, and on the right hand side there's a lever that you can turn left and right. So even though you're pushing it forward and back, it goes left and right in your wrist. So you can actually turn left or right, whichever way you're going. It's quite hard to maneuver. With practice you could do it. However, we was in a nice-ish field. So a little bit bumpy, but nothing special. I was great on the flat. I was great going downhill. But the moment you hit any type of incline, you are struggling. I like to say I'm quite a biggish bloke. I've got quite big shoulders and that. But that incline, it's not going to happen. It's going to be so tough to get over that incline in any way. So it's going to be super hard. So I would say, first of all, maybe we need to look at what can we put in place for wheelchairs to do this type of course, because there's no way can they do it on their own. They can't self-propel. They are going to need a team.
Yeah, I would be minded to agree with you there, Alan. I think you do have to think about what athletes can do and what is currently within the scope of para athletes. Because at this present moment in time, as you found, Alan, and I believe this is meant to be a mountain bike version of a wheelchair.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, it's designed to be off-road.
And if that can't go up a small hill, then you're going to be snookered when you come to stuff like rolling mud, for example.
Exactly.
Or the dunk wall is almost unimaginable as well. So it's a difficult one, isn't it? Because on one hand, I can understand the idea of wanting it to be completely equal.
Yeah.
So if you've got a general rule that no one can help anyone else, then you are stayed by that. But it's not equitable.
Not in a wheelchair environment. This is the hard part, which then leads me to my next thing. Okay, so I've committed to do something next year at the Farmyard Jam / Overload race.
Oh, can I guess?
Go on, let's see if you can guess.
Are you going to drink all the beer that people bring you during the 24 hours?
I love that, Ian. I love that. That's absolutely mint. No.
To be fair, that would be a pickled muddy duck and the end of the race.
Too right. No, what I'm going to do, Ian, we're going to reach out on UKOCR in the next couple of months, and we're going to ask people to design design as many as you want. Okay, so design obstacles that would be wheelchair friendly. So big shout out to James Burton, because he's given us a great one. Okay, so this is a rig for wheelchair athletes. Okay, so they can do it independently, and it's on a slope. However, you put wood down on the floor. Okay, and the rig above you is reachable for people in a wheelchair, and the whole idea is they will pull themselves forward and up the slope using the rig to pull them forward. I think that's an amazing obstacle.
I agree. You'll have to do some work on the slant just in case. What happens if a wheelchair athlete sadly loses grip? But yeah, I think that's a great idea.
Well, I mean, if someone loses grip, we could have someone behind them, to actually stop them. We'd put something in there, so you might do some little steps, some little piece of wood just to slow it down, some grip tape. So if there's an athlete behind them, but I wouldn't make it too difficult. But I think that's a great one. I'm going to potentially look at see what we can do. But the whole idea is we're going to try and build not many. I'm going to say 5 at the most. But we're going to try and build 5 obstacles that wheelchair athletes can take on and can do. So I think it's an amazing thing to try and do.
That sounds awesome. I will put a little thing out there already. Able-bodied athletes out there, I know you're going to look at these things and think, oh, this looks super cool. Please don't go on them either during the race or before the race. Just let the para athletes race it during their race, and you might get to play on them later. But don't risk, please, ruining the obstacle. It's hard for me to say this kind of thing because I'm kind of like predicting something that will happen, but we all know what OCR athletes are like when you see something new.
Yeah, we do. But I just think it's going to be fun. I mean, some of the other ideas we've had is like a little wheelie section. So, a 5-meter wheelie section. They've got to pull a wheelie for 5 meters. It's a bit like a log carrier. I guess you put a log on your lap, and then you pull a wheelie for 5 meters, turn around and come 5 meters back. So things like that. We're not going to make it too difficult, but we're going to make it friendly for wheelchairs and independent wheelchairs as well, because that's the key. We want if that's the way we're going to go without teams, and I think it could be a good thing. Let's see where we go.
I think that's great. What are we going to do now? Are we going to go through more Overlord madness, or do you want to cover some other topics and then swing back?
Let's cover some other topics, and then we can talk about the Farmyard Jam at the end if anyone wants to stay on and listen to some stories from Farmyard Jam, or they can shoot off.
No, that's good. Anything else you want to talk about, Overlord?
No, I'm cool with what we've done, Overload. Just registration's open for next year, 23rd of August.
23rd of August. You're going back to your roots?
We're going back to our roots to August bank holiday, yes.
Well, that's good. That means my birthday, which falls around there, will be on the bank holiday weekend. Woohoo!
Yeah, exactly.
And it's a special birthday next year.
It's your 40th.
No.
What's your special birthday, Ian?
It's when I become the meaning of life.
21.
Yeah, we'll go with that. We'll absolutely go with that. Again, about 3 people will get that joke, and I salute those who get it. But let's move on. What other topics do you want to talk about for the next 10 minutes or so?
So, first thing, I have done my first ever Kickstarter today, Ian. Not launched a Kickstarter. Let's get this bit right. People are going to think, oh, Alan's launching a Kickstarter. No, I have. Today's my first ever payment, any Kickstarter enterprise.
What did you kickstart?
Do not block the gate.
Do not block the gate.
Yeah, do not block the gate. So this is a project, okay, and it's a book. It's a book by David Miller, who's a great photographer, and he's putting a book together of the 2024 Barclay Marathon in pictures.
Oh, wow.
Exactly. He needed £20,000 to do it. You can pledge different amounts of money. So some of the things you get. So for £40, you get a hardback book with the pictures free. £70, you get a signed book. £100, a signed book, and you also get your name emblazoned on it as well. And for £150, you get the signed book, the name, and a slipcase. So depending on what you are, the signed book is by Yasmin Paris and David Miller. So Yasmin Paris. So it's all about that, but it's an amazing thing. I was sent it at work by someone who knows I'm into running today, and I was like, instantly, I'm having one of them books. So yeah.
Love it when that happens. I will say, listening to them prices, we need to revise the Patreon.
Yeah, we don't do this, Ian. I've gone for the lowest. I've gone for just a hardback book. I'm not bothered about signed books and things like that. It's absolutely fantastic that they're doing that. But I just thought it's going to be a great coffee table book. You put on the table and things like that. And at 40 quid, I just couldn't say no. You know what I mean? I'm a big fan of the Barclays. As you know, I watch it on Twitter constantly, and I'm sharing the Twitter content on there. So yeah, when I saw it, I was like, yeah, that's me. I'm getting it. 24 days to go. So anyone who wants to do it, it's kickstarter.com. It's called Do Not Block Gate. So yeah.
Do not block gate.
Yeah.
Right. Can I just talk about something quickly that I saw on Parkrun discussion group today?
Yeah, go on.
As you know, on the Parkrun discussion group, there's currently this big hoo-ha about, is it a sport? Is it not a sport? Bring the stats back, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Well, on here, it said Parkrun HQ conducted a survey of 8,600 people who had never completed a parkrun or only completed one. And it listed the barriers to participation is the misperception that parkrun is a race, not being fit enough, the fear of coming laughs. Okay?
Yeah.
We hear them a lot, but what was interesting to me, and I feel bad because we don't like flaming people on this show, but someone down here, I'm not going to name them, thankfully there are several thousand topics like this, so people probably won't find it. Someone wrote, funny, I've been trying to convince my neighbour's kid who's 19 to come. He says he can't run 5K. I spent ages telling him it didn't matter. He avoids me now. Maybe it's just not for some folk. Not everyone has to come or enjoy it. And it just struck me, that wasn't a parody comment, but what struck me is if someone is genuinely not interested, easy for me to say, and they tell you the first time, no, it's not for me, why badger them?
Yeah. I can't say nothing. I bought Paul a tough minute tickets on Badger's Dairy.
Yeah, but you've had previous experience, so you know Paula enjoys OCR.
Yeah.
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 But if you ask them, she'll learn to enjoy it. Yeah. But I see this all the time, people pressurizing people to do it. And I don't know about you, Alan, but if someone's always at me, I do the exact opposite.
Yeah. And you're right. I've never badgered anyone. I tell people my experience of OCR, but people have got to make their own mind up. It's just when it comes to running, some people are very excited about running. Just running a marathon, running a 10K, running a 5K, and especially park run. Park run it's one of them things, park run, where people go out and try and do as many as they possibly can because it's a phenomenal. It's phenomenal. It's a phenomenon in terms of what they can do. They can go and do a race every week because it's a race. No matter what anyone says, it is a race. Yeah, because it's timed. That makes it a race. Yeah, they can go and do a race every week, and they can do it wherever they want in the country, and it's free of charge. Yeah, you can't do that anywhere. Can you imagine that concept over in the States? It would never work in the States.
As to limited degree.
Yeah.
A part of that is because 5Ks are charged for over there. So they couldn't get their head around it. No, you're right. People are zealots, aren't they? Sometimes.
Yeah, that's the word I was looking for. Yeah. And the problem with zealots is they will push people into doing things. I released a picture on UKOCR Facebook the day, a video of a young guy doing a ninja course. I mean, absolutely phenomenal. This young lad is like, it looks like about 9 or 10 year old. And in the background, I don't know if it's his father or his coach or whatever, he's constantly shouting him and telling him, do this, do that, do other. And there's a comment on that post by someone, and it talks about helicopter parents, and it's exactly the same thing when it comes to park run. People try and push something onto each other. That parent should have let his young lad enjoy it, but I guess it's competition, and you're always going to see it. I see it more at football matches in the UK. Fathers screaming at the kids, pass the ball, run here, run there. Kids probably don't know whether they're coming from the left or from the right or anything at this moment in time. But this young lad did absolutely amazing. But when it comes to the parkrun side of things, what I'm trying to get to is that people push that onto their friends. Come and do it. It's only 5K. I've asked people, come and do a parkrun. The moment they say no, all right, fine, don't do it. That's your choice.
And what you'll often find is those people will find their own way. I've lost track of a number of people who I mentioned to workplace once, maybe twice, always infatual. And I don't say, oh, well, I'm going for a run, fancy it. I just say what I'm doing. And eventually they will run if they want to run. If that's what they want to do, they will do it, and they'll probably reach out to you. And the thing that also annoyed me about this is 5K seems like nothing to probably most people who are listening to this podcast. That's probably a training run. But to a lot of people, 3.1 miles is a long, long way.
Yeah. A lot of people do. I was reading something the other day that the average commute to work is 4 miles. So when you think of the average commute to work is 4 miles, then people are thinking, and they catch buses to go to work, or they get in the car to go to work, they're thinking, oh my God, I've got to go like nearly all the way to work. That's miles,
It is. And recently, as you know, Alan, my running has gone downhill, and not in the good way. Doesn't mean I've gone faster. It's just gone downhill. Recently, I did a 10K training run because I actually thought I'd follow my plan.
Yeah.
Thank you, Tom. But I did a 10K, and it actually surprised me how much land I had to cover to get to a 10K. Because when we're doing these in races, it doesn't seem a long way. But when you're suddenly plotting it out, and it's still only 5.9 miles, so you have to run past the blooming place where you're finishing and run back, it's a long way. And it's the same with 5K.
Yeah. Do you have a Garmin?
I do, but it's on its way out.
Okay. Because if you use the Garmin app, if you go into training, and maybe a lot of people might know this, but I'll just tell everyone, if you go into training on the Garmin app, you can click courses, and you can just click the distance you want to do and press go, and it will actually create a course, and it comes up on your phone, on your watch, the exact 10K. So if you click 10K, it will take you on a 10K run.
I didn't know that, but I'm also not convinced my Garmin will do that. Mine doesn't have maps capability. It
All right.
is one step up from a Casio.
I like that.
but there's
Then
nothing wrong
you
with
need to
that.
carry your phone with you, but your phone would, on the Garmin app would be able to tell you. It's actually really good. I use it quite often when I'm looking for a run and I can't be asked with plotting my own run. I actually go on and just say, right, I want to run 10 miles or 15 miles and choose me a route. And it's great up in the Peak District. You know, you just pick a starting point and say run 15 miles and you just never know where you're going to end up.
Just don't go up there when it's snowing with Linda and Libby and Rob.
And Rob. Linda and Libby's all right, but not Rob. Long-term listeners will get that. If you're not, you need to go back a few episodes or quite a few episodes and find out why. Yeah, and found out why. Talking about peaks and things like that, this is a good segue actually. Sorry, have you finished with Parkrun there?
Yeah, finished with Parkrun. Let's move on to the next topic.
So the three peaks which you talked about last week that B Wood's going to be doing with the team with Martin and that in charge. That is individual three peaks with driving in between them. But there is actually a world record for the three peaks. So that is starting up at Ben Nevis and finishing down at Snowdon, or the vice versa, but actually running the distance in between them as well. So, which is equivalent to 680 kilometers and I think over 10,000 feet, something like that. Well, the woman's record has been stood for a very, very long time. And now I'm going to read this to get this all right. So it's stood at a long time as 7 days and 31 minutes since 1979. Anne Sayers held that record. However, this week, I'm at Body. No, that's a real name. I'm a Body. Yeah. Smashed this 45-year-old record. So on May 15th, the 24-year-old put a hand in the sea in Scotland at 12:43 p.m. And on May 1st, put a hand into the chilly waters of the Welsh Ocean. 6 days, 5 hours, 43 minutes. She broke the world record. That's an amazing achievement, Ian.
That really is. And do we actually know if Anne Sayer did it correctly? Because that was before the internet and before marathon investigations. I think we might need to do a postscript on there just to, because even 7 days seems unbelievable almost 50 years ago, give or take.
Yeah, I guess 600 kilometers, 300 miles?
It's a long way. What, 600 kilometers?
No, yeah, 600 kilometers, so about 400 miles.
Roughly, yeah. Maybe.
So if you did over 7 days, what's that, 60 miles a day then, isn't it? So you'd have to run 60 miles a day.
So you'd need to do 6 consecutive ultra marathons and a fair distance ultra marathon.
Yeah. That's pretty tough. Back then, look at Yanis Kouros. The distance he was running as back in them days, he was smashing records left, right, and centre. So I'm pretty certain that because back then it was more about long distance running, weren't it? People moved into long distances much quicker than they did into short distances.
No, that's true. And if you're listening to this, I didn't mean to cast aspersions. I'm sure your record was genuine. It was just a joke. But well done to I'm a Body. So absolutely well done to her. Can we briefly talk about Tough Mudder, Alan?
Yes, which was this weekend.
It was, which explains why there wasn't really a solo takeover of the Overlord this year, which often happens. Hopefully, with being back to its natural home of Bank Holiday next year, we'll see a solos of taking of a solos overtaking, not a solos takeover. Ian, get your words right.
Solos never overtake anyone unless they're Will Chung.
No, we absolutely never overtake anyone. But yeah, solos takeover. Maybe we'll do that to some degree next year. I understand it was a great event. Did you see the number of people there, Alan?
I've heard it was a record number.
Well, I'm not sure if it was a record, but it was 13,000.
That's a lot, Ian. That's got to be close to the record.
And what makes it interesting to me, and I'm not sure if there's a bit of a gamesmanship here, the 3 weeks before, High Rocks London Olympia had 12,000 people.
Oh, right. So we're playing the games, are we? High Rocks released one, So the next High Rocks, we're going to have 14,000 people.
Maybe. I don't know. But yeah, I was wondering if there was a little bit of gamesmanship there. And let's be honest, we all know you can't really take the numbers that are posted on social media seriously because it's always worded in a interesting way. So, for example, High Rocks, I think, will always say participants or attended. So they can count not just the athletes, but the spectators and possibly the sponsors as well. They probably will never admit to that, but all you need to do is check the number of finishers. And often, either they had a lot of DNFs or a lot of people not turning up. Because I think at Olympia, it was about 10,600 finishers, which is an amazing, amazing number. But say when they announce the numbers, you've got to take them with a grain of salt. Same with Tough Mudder. Do I think there was 13,000 people who took on the Tough Mudder course? No. Do I think there was 13,000 people who were in attendance, who may have done mini mudder, who may have done spectating, who may have been there volunteering? Absolutely. And it is amazing because you heard Martin Gemmell the week before completely by himself without any goading or direction from me whatsoever proclaim the death of Tough Mudder. I don't know why he did that. He just went off on an adventure of his own. And then they're putting out 13,000 people were in attendance. Well done to Tough Mudder. Well done to High Rocks as well, having so many people involved in these athletic endeavors. And let's hope it continues. Let's hope maybe we've turned a corner and we're going to see 2017, 2018 numbers again.
I've actually noticed it, and I talked about this a little while ago, that I'd not seen many Tough Mudder adverts. And over the last 2 weeks, I have seen much more Tough Mudder adverts, not on Facebook, sorry, but also Instagram, but in Reels. So you know these Reels that keep popping up? It's all Reels, and there are lots. You know, I listen to that. I do like to look at reels. I admit on Facebook, I'm one of these people that sees. I like these little short clips of alligators or puppies running around or something funny. And yeah, Tough Mudder are advertising a lot on there, a lot more than I've ever seen. So maybe they've listened to our podcast along with the other 33,000 people that listen to it. Not that I'm exaggerating in any way, shape, or form, because it's when they're listening to a car, everyone on the M1's listening to it, obviously. Maybe that someone's thought, yeah, let's go back to the advertisement, you know, and look at what's worked. Giles, Matt Brook, anyone, I don't know who's done it, but it's working. I think it's working. If you're telling me those numbers are there, something's working. They're doing something right again. And yeah, keep it going. Tough Mudder, keep it going.
No, Tough Mudder, keep it going. High Rocks, keep it going. Spartan, keep it going. Try and get more people to your races. All the other races, please keep it going. I think Nuclear Fit did okay the other week as well. They got a few hundred people. It's a nice sign because in the news you hear about doom and gloom and how people can't afford a pot noodle, but a lot of times it will come down to priorities, and your health should be a priority. And if you need to attend a race to do that, then make it your priority. I'm not saying pay money for a race rather than eating or rather than taking care of your kids, but look at volunteering, look at that kind of thing. And it does help having something in the calendar. So hopefully more and more people are seeing that, Alan.
Definitely. I noticed, I read something the other day that the Bristol Marathon had 15,000 runners. So that tells us that running's making a bit of a comeback in general. You know, it's not just the London Marathon that attracts the big numbers anymore. That even some of the other marathons out there can attract numbers, because 15,000 for one race is good.
And we're not out of the woods yet. We are still down on pre-COVID levels. It is the Great Manchester Run this weekend, Alan, which is Manchester's version of the marathon. I know we have a marathon, but the Manchester 10K tends to be the big pomp and circumstance type event. Yeah. Okay.
Just Greater Manchester in the same sentence doesn't sound right to me, Ian.
It's what it's called officially. If you're upset, speak to Rishi Sunak, but only for the next 7 weeks. Oops,
Oh,
sorry.
yeah, we've got an election coming up. We've got an
We
election
do.
coming up.
We do. But speaking about the Manchester 10K, I am still getting emails telling me it's down to the last 500 entries. I have never had that before, Alan. They have either pumped a lot more entries in or it hasn't sold as well as it usually does. So we're not out of the woods yet. However, speaking of being out of the woods, some people coming out of the woods at London West at Tough Mudder would have seen a lot more photographers, but not all of them are happy about it, have they?
Not all of them are happy about it at all. No, is this new package into that's out there? You know that people are paying for photos. It's old school. Do you really want to pay for them? Do you not want to pay for them? Photographers cost money, and if they're publishing photos and people are ripping them off, even with these programs now, I've actually seen programs that take watermarks out of photos, and people are doing that. Sorry, but you've got yourself to blame. I know a lot of people have not done that. You know what I mean? But people are doing it. People are going to abuse this system as well when this comes out. I don't know. I'm a fan of free photos. What would it cost Tough Mudder for 2 photographers for a full day? Probably £1,000. They've just had 13,000 people rock up. It's less than it's less than £1 a person.
Yeah, that's true. But that's what we used to have, 2 photographers. Now you're getting 8, 9, 10.
But that's because they're having to pay for them because the packages that they're paying for is much more.
And that's the balance that you're going to get.
Yeah.
You've kind of got 2 choices. You either go to Tough Mudder having 1 or 2 photographers there and it's free, and then you mourn that it's the same shot of you going through electroshock therapy and on block nest that we've always had, or you pay and you get slightly better photos and particularly more. So I'm perhaps too far removed from this argument to be able to argue it properly. So I'm literally just being the devil's advocate position, Alan, because whisper it, I'm often not that bothered about photos. Yeah, I like them, but it doesn't make or break a race for me.
No, and it doesn't for me. One of the things though that you said there that they are always on the 2 obstacles. You're quite right. That has been probably the problem with Tough Mudder photographers. If they revolved them around the obstacles, so you might have one block nest, and then you might have the other photographer at Archkenema. I always seem to see Archkenema. Then the next race, they should be at 2 different obstacles, and then 2 more different obstacles. So for everyone who goes through all the races, they will get different pictures. If you're only going to go into one race, and are you bothered about having 40 photos? I'd be happy. In fact, my first ever race I did was Endura in Sheffield, and I think I got 3 photos, out of that race. I was happy with 3 photos. I was quite pleased. I think my second race was Tough Guy, and I got 1 photo out of it. You've got, well, it depends on where you are. I'm more a fan of free photos. Give me free photos all the time.
You're obviously a fan of free photos, Alan, and at Farmyard Jam Overlord, you did supply them in a roundabout way. So we can chat about that in a sec. Before we go further, I think our last real topic is Boss has asked us to read out a few things.
Fire away, Ian. Fire away. What have we got to tell them?
So the national team race squad for Euros, we've got Chris Harris, Chris Shipley, Daniel Titcombe, Darren Martin, Dasov Scanella, Federica Di Carria, Imi Hales, Jamie Gain, Jason Brunnock, Jason Marlum, Johnny Hunter, Karen McQuarrie, Lou Ferriman, Morgan Maxwell, Rebecca Neal, Russell Walsh, and Shaila Duhani. So well done. Teams will be selected from that squad for women's, men's, mixed, and power. 1 power athlete, 2 able-bodied athletes. So that's fun.
Yeah.
James also wants us to mention there will be a price rise for Rude Rampage at the end of the month, and there will be a 100-meter event later in the day at the venue. So more details on that to come.
I've heard about this 100-meter event, Ian. This 100-meter event, they're going to test a new timing system. So anyone knows about Rude Rampage, It's owned by DB Max Events, which are a timing system, and they are testing out a new timing system that hopefully they might be able to roll out to all OCR events that are going to be short course ones.
Perfect. A few other things, just reminders. Next Ninja Sport UK League event will be Obstacle Training Ground May 26th, which is coming up very fast. Next 3K series event, Fit Body Farm time trials on June 1st, Rumble Fitness time trials June 2nd, Obstacle Gym June 22nd. Endurance League event will be Tough Mudder Scotland Infinity. And the next UKOCR series is the British champ. Everest will be on the senior course, whoever he is. And there will be a team competition with top 5 athletes from each team going towards your score, a 60-40 gender ratio as always on that. Oh, finally, a little nudge. Please renew your membership if you haven't already. James, if I haven't renewed mine, please send Alan an invoice. He'll take care of it.
He reminded me at Farmyard at about 10 o'clock at night, Alan, your membership expired last week. I went, all right. He went, I take cash. So I paid him cash there and then for 2 years.
You should have bribed him with beer.
Oh, well, I don't think he drinks that much, does he? He's an athlete. He doesn't drink that much. Athlete.
Wait, was he the one who was asking where I was? Was this the reason?
Yeah, I think he was one of them asking where you were. That's the reason. He wanted your money as well. He got a few people to sign up actually for British Obstacle Sports, so he got quite a few numbers there next year. Good. I'm going to look at. No, I'm going to leave that until it happens. Let me see if it happens first. A little bit of teaser there for people.
No, absolutely. But I know we joke about it, but please, if you can, support British Obstacle Sports, renew your membership, because it is a critical time for the sport. We've just celebrated 13,000 people at Tough Mudder. A lot of those people would have been brand new to the sport. So let's show them, if they then go on Google machine and look up obstacle racing in the UK, it pings them to British Obstacle Sports. They see a great community, and the more members that are then in the Facebook group, the better it looks.
Without a doubt. We've just got to 1,600 members. Let's not let it lapse now. We're going to support England soon, to get full recognition. Let's not, with a milestone, that doesn't mean we've jobs done, you can all stop being members. Reach out. Send a message. I wish I'd have known that mine had lapsed a couple of weeks because I wouldn't have let it lapse. I never received an email, so I don't know why. But yeah, everyone needs to make sure that we're members. That if you love this sport, make yourself a member. It's key. It's key to keep it going.
It is. I did see something on the UKOCR group about people having trouble with the My Next Match
platform.
I was going to call it an app then, but I think it's a website. So yeah, if you have technical difficulties, reach out to the team. They'll sort you out.
Yeah, without a doubt. So yeah, just please let everyone renew their membership. Please, if you know someone's a member, ask them if they've renewed recently.
Final bit, Alan. Hyrox has released some massive news, but I don't think we've got enough time to talk about it and give it justice this week. So let's cover that off next week, because I also want to know the internet's reaction as well. So when that hits, we'll cover it off. So when the reaction, because it is brand new as this is coming out into your ears. So right, Alan, with that being said, let's talk about Farmyard Jam in effectively a lock-in, because I think we're probably just over an hour. We'll go for as long as you want to.
Well, I'm not going to go too long here. But what a race, Ian. What an absolute event. 2 o'clock came. The runners were excited. Everyone's on the start line. 50 people lined up on the start line. We had 3 teams in there, which was great. But everyone else was solo runners. There'd been a lot of talk on social media and rumours I'd heard going around that 24 hours were going to get achieved and there would be a race at the end of it. Everyone knew that if you got to 24th lap, the first person across the finish line was classed as the only finisher, and everyone else did not finish, even if they crossed afterwards and 24 laps. And there'd been talk about a few people going to get all the way. I didn't think there were. Me and Jamie had a little bit. I said that I reckon come 9, 10 o'clock the next morning, 18 hours into it, that we would get down to, there wouldn't be two people left. There'd only be one person left. How wrong was I? How wrong was I? So many people. So first of all, the first lap, let me tell you about the first lap. So we changed the course from previous years. We put the bog in, all right? So the bog was in this year. This is the first time we've ever put the bog in Farmyard Jam. 3 years, third year doing Farmyard Jam, we decided we're going to put a little bit of mud in. Not a lot, I think there was about 100 metres of it, maybe 150 metres of it, not a lot. So we put the bog in. The rain on the course had not made the course friendly. It was very rutted. It wasn't great. And on the first lap, the times weren't good. We saw people coming in. We saw the best runners coming in at like 40 plus minutes, and we had 2 or 3 people, the fun runners, that literally just made it in. So we had to make a massive change, massive alteration on the first lap. We decided to take 400 metres out of the course. Kept the bog in, but took 400 metres out. And it worked, Ian. The runners came in after lap 2. They were like, yes, you've done it right. It's perfect now. Yes, it's a much harder course than previous years, but it's now doable. We can go a long way, which were great. For some people, not for us who didn't get any sleep. Talking about sleep, that's one thing for you. We had volunteers, we had marshals all night. So we had Matt Kirk, Michelle Carney, Sam Gascoigne, and B Wood, as well as there was myself, there was Jamie, and there was Robert, and Ellie. When Ellie got, because Ellie was signing up, so Robert's daughter Ellie, she did a bit of photography for us the other day as well, but she was helping out as well, and we all stayed awake, or tried to stay awake. I went to bed. I think I was the first one to go to bed. I was determined I was going to have a little bit of sleep, but not where I did the previous year. So I went to bed the previous year at like 1 o'clock, woke up at 3 o'clock, and about 20 people had dropped out. Well, that wasn't happening this year. So I decided that I was going to go to try and get some sleep between 10 and 12. And I did. I went to sleep about 10:15, and I got up literally just after 12 o'clock. And 10:05. B bless her, said at one point, I'm going to go get my head down for an hour. Yeah. 6 hours later, she woke up.
Oh. It happens. It happens to the best of us. And B, you may not be aware of this. The first year of UKOCR, we went to Europe's Toughest Mudder. Alan was giving it the whole, we're going to stay here up all night and get all this great photography. He left around 1 o'clock. I didn't see him till the morning.
Yeah, I didn't remember that now. Yeah, that was funny, yeah. I need my sleep. I need my beauty sleep desperately, me.
Alan, before you go on, two things. One, can we also give a shout out to the wonderful Overlord Marshals as well? Because I know there were some fab marshals on there as well, including some Patreons.
Yes. Oh, yeah. Patron, I think it was Kelly was a patron on there. Who else was patrons on there? I've got the Patreon list up in front of me. Let's see if I can remember some of them, Ian.
While you're doing that, I do have a question for you as well.
Go on, fire away with your question.
You started this one at 2 p.m.
Yeah.
Previous years, what time had you started at?
12. So we usually start at lunchtime.
That's what I thought. I do wonder whether that led to you having more finishers.
Possibly, but bearing in mind most people have been up quite early in the morning, so I don't know. That's a good situation, because back when we go to 2025, we're actually starting at 9 a.m. in the morning.
Yeah, that's fascinating, because here's my theory. Most people will drop out of any race between 2 and maybe 5-ish. And the witching hour of 3 will tend to be the one where you lose a lot of people.
Yes, 100%.
The way you did it, they kind of were already on a little bit of a high because they were halfway through.
Yeah.
And then by the time they got to the 15-hour, 16-hour that tends to take them out, the sun has risen. And once the sun rises, you can finish.
Yeah, no, you're actually right. That could be one of the key things that got people around starting a little bit later. Going to be interesting to see then next year, because will people, we start at 9 a.m. next year. Obviously, they'll have gone 12 hours before the sun sets. You know, they're going to be 12 hours into it. So when we get to 2 o'clock in the morning, that they are going to be 14 hours into it. That's going to be really key. So it's going to be super tough next year, because not only is it the witching hour, but it's also the time when you're actually feeling it. You know, you're feeling it much more than anyone else. When you get past that 10-hour mark, that's when people start to feel it.
Oh, exactly. You do get that boost, don't you? And this, by the way, is not me taking away from any of the athletes this past weekend, because you are still phenomenal athletes. You still have to do it. The reason you got through is because you're a great athlete. I'm just curious, because I know sometimes World's Toughest Mudder messes with the time. And I wonder if there's a study that says, depending on where you put the clock, does it make an impact?
I wonder if Becky wants to come and do some study on it next year with athletes, because that would be pretty cool if she studied some athletes and around endurance running. Because I mean, there is currently no, because like next year it's 48 hours. You know, or that's the plan. Who can go? It's really more who can go the furthest next year. Always has been. Again, though, it's a 47-hour warm up to a 1 lap race, if need be. But it'd be interesting to see how far people can actually go, sleep deprived. I think that would be a good study for her.
So next year, is it 9 a.m. Saturday to 9 a.m. Monday morning?
That's it, yep. 9 a.m. Saturday to 9 a.m. bank holiday Monday morning.
That sounds horrible.
If it goes that far. So we're going to give a couple of shout outs then to our patrons, and that who turned up and marshalled for us. So Matt Kirk was there, Paul Ellis was there, Kelly Spalding was there, B Wood was there. I'm trying to look at, we had some runners as well there, but them guys are going to shout them all. James Burton was there because he did a bit of marshalling for us in terms of, well, volunteering for us in terms of going out and doing the filming. Michelle Carney, obviously. And I think that was it when I go through everyone. I can't see no more. If I miss someone off, please shout at me. I will let you up next week with your name and that. But yeah, those are the volunteers, Ian.
Can I just say, though, this might be the most volunteers you've ever had for a Farm Yam Jam, because it's usually you and Jamie and me and Jen for maybe 6 hours.
Yeah, it was great to have them on. You know, I mean, they were all in the TO gear as well, with it being a UK Endurance League race. They were there all TOing, and we kept mixing the course up slightly at the end. So at one stage we had 4 hurdles, then we had 8 hurdles, then we had 12 hurdles. When we went back to the actual race, the very last race, we went back to the 8. We moved the cone carry several times, made it a bit further. We moved the log carrier several times to make it a bit further. We were mixing things up for them a little bit, giving them little surprises that came round. Nothing that would affect them finishing drastically, you know, missing the cut-off, but just a little bit of a difference to mix it up and play with the minds and things like that, which was good. So big thanks to the volunteers there. I think at one point the volunteers all ran halfway around the course to get some more tyres to put on the cargo net, to make the cargo net harder, which was like they all come running back with a tyre each, which was funny to watch.
So what I'm sounding is the athletes might not have appreciated having more volunteers.
No, the athletes probably didn't. It was really good for me and Jamie. I mean, we tried a new timing system out, so it's actually on UKOCR.com website. The results are all there on a timing system showing lap by lap. I want to do it a little bit like Hyrox here. You know what Hyrox do? You know, you do first one in this and second one in that. So we had this new timing system that did all that for us, it's come out really good. We need to work on it next year because we need to make sure that people who do the Jessie lap or the non-obstacle lap, they actually go into a different timing bin as opposed to if it's in the UKOCR, if it's in the UK Endurance League next year. Because I don't know if it's going to be. We're going to wait until what happens this year, and if it's in next year, brilliant. So yeah, but I mean, there's so many shout outs I can give. We had a lot of patrons run it. Big shout out to all the patrons who ran it. You all know who you are. But we got to the morning, Ian, and we had one guy, Jacob. He was storming it in. I mean, he was coming in, first place virtually every time, every lap. And all of a sudden he just blew up and just said, "That's it, I've done." For no reason whatsoever, he just said, "That's it, I've done," and walked off with his jam and his medal. We had two of the teams were Team My Zone. So
Oh, wow.
yeah. So Reese, I don't know his surname with the tattoos. What Reese?
I think it's just Reese.
Just Reese, and Wes were one of the teams, and they were running for Andy's Man Club. So they were running for Andy's Man Club, part of their thing, and they were just doing it for the challenge. It was quite interesting with Reese because our cargo net stands at 2.5 meters tall, okay, which is like, off the floor, you're jumping up the A-frame cargo net, and the first few laps he did, he would just leap and grab the top of it. Grab the frame at the very, very top and literally manhandle himself up and over it. But by lap 4, his fourth lap, which was 8 laps into it, because they were doing alternate ones, he was having to actually use a rope to get up there. It had done him in, he couldn't get up there like that fast. And so it was quite good to see them change and their tactics change and things like that. There were so many people achieved well above and beyond what they expected on a tough course. Yeah, there were new obstacles as well. Tough course, much tougher course. But to the 3 solos that made it all the way, Kevin Dent, Russell Walsh, and Dassos Ganella, I take my hat off to all 3 of them. Good story about Kevin, though. I think he got it into his head. So at 21 hours, he got it into his head that he couldn't beat Dassos and Russell. They were coming in, 4 or 5 minutes ahead of him every lap, and he sat there. He'd done really, really well. He'd done absolutely amazing to get there, and he were coming in, top 10 every lap. But I think he realised it wasn't going to go anywhere, so he was about to quit, and then his girlfriend called him and said to him, "Are you still running?" And he went, yeah, I'm still running. She went, "Right, run his way down so we can watch your last lap." So we had to go back out for 3 more laps.
Well done.
Yeah.
Well done to Kevin Dent's other half.
Yeah. And she brought her daughter down as well. I think that made it. She said, "I'm bringing my daughter down to watch her as well." So we had to go out, and he ran it. I mean, he ran a last lap amazingly. Anyway, I mean, I think the last lap was his fastest lap as well. But talking about that last lap, James Burton said to me, he says, "Shall we stream it live?" And I went, "Well, who's going to rabbit it?" And he went, "I'll rabbit it." And I went, "Go on then. Let's stream it on British Obstacle Sports. Let's do it." So he went out, and I think James was surprised at the pace they actually ran. They were running 4-minute kilometers over ground that is not designed to run 4-minute kilometers. We're not talking track. We're talking serious off-road rutter ground. I mean, I spoke to Dassos afterwards, and he said to me, I had 23 practice runs to get it right. That was his attitude, which I thought was funny. But I mean, we was actually, James was out there, and in the event village, there was about 40, 50 people left, who were watching it, and we all got us phones out. In fact, I think I got my phone out, and I got about 10 people stood around me watching it. And when Russell made his move coming up the hill, everyone were just like, "Oh, Russell's made a move. And then we lost connection. And then when James got back to it, we could actually see the runners when he came back to it, and we're like, "Oh, Dassos has got him back." And then Dassos got to the obstacles first, and they were touching, as Dassos went over the obstacles, Russell touched his foot, and it was that close a race. They were breathing down each other's neck. And the obstacles were designed because someone said to me, "Well, Russell's got a disadvantage on some obstacles because he's tall." And I went, "Yeah, you're quite right. But then you look at the other obstacles, he's got a slight advantage." So when it comes to some of the carries, some of the jumping and that, it's got a bit of an advantage. So it evened itself out, but I mean, it came down to less than 5 seconds between first and second. They covered, was it 8? Someone counted 100 kilometers. They'd done 100 kilometers already, and then they go and run a 22-minute 5K race with 10 obstacles.
Oh, it's just unbelievable. And like I said earlier, just phenomenal athletes. And Alan, as a race director, you love seeing this. It was fabulous. How guilty did you feel handing Russell that DNF?
Not at all. Not at all. I didn't feel guilty at all. It's the rules. It's in the rule book. It was great. Russell, sorry, mate. You've done 24 hours, but here's a DNF for you. I've seen his post on social media, and he has turned around and said the only race I finished and I get a DNF for. There can only be one winner. It's the Highlander. There can be only one.
No, that's true. Did you have a special medal for first drop?
We didn't this year, no. But the first drop, we didn't even know he dropped. And he needs to come back and get his jam and his medal because he only did one lap, and we never even knew he dropped. So
did you know if he took part?
Well, yeah, we got him down on the records as one part, and we were looking for him and we couldn't find him. He literally did one lap and went.
What's funny about this is after that lap, you changed the course.
Yeah, I know. He did one lap and went. Big shout out to Nicola Toogood as well. She pushed Emma Kirkwood and Heather all the way to get the furthest in the females. She still got a DNF, but well done to her as well. She got as far as she possibly could. Big shout out to DMS Medals as well, because DMS Medals made us 2 trophies, female winner and male winner. So big shout out to them. And that we gave it to we gave it to Nicola because she was the furthest female, and obviously Dassa's got the one for the male. But what a race! As a race director, I could not have been more proud. I couldn't be more proud of my team as well. So the athletes did absolutely well, but the whole team that made it happen. From our landowner Nick being on site for most of the time, stopping in his caravan, getting up on Sunday morning and doing bacon butties for spectators, and things like that, and the marshals. I mean, Matt Kirk, bless him, he marshalled in the morning at Overload. Then he went and did the fun lap, which all the marshals get to run. So he went and did that, and then he came back and TO'd for the whole 24 hours. So did Sam and so did Michelle, by the way, as well. For the whole 24 hours, and he was catching power naps. So when we set them off, well, actually, nearly everyone were done by 10 to the hour. So he would literally catch a power nap then, and then they were coming back in at like 28 and 29 to obstacle section. So then he'd wake back up, literally 2 minutes before, and he'd be there TOing straight away. So I mean, a big shout out to him. He was absolutely shattered. The whole weekend he was gone, but bless him, he was absolutely amazing.
Was also a big shout out to, I think, Grumpy as well, who not only did your race, but did Tough Mudder as well. Yeah,
he went over to Tough Mudder, didn't he, as well? So absolutely amazing for Grumpy for doing it. I mean, what a legend he is. He's a legend. He did the water section for us this year, and he said he enjoyed it. He was down there, and we gave him some machinery to work as well, and that. So he enjoyed it. Ian, it was absolutely amazing. Next year there are even more changes planned for farmyards. So as I said, it's going to start at 9:00 in the morning. We are going to actually have options for the rig and the water sections for 2 hours on Saturday and 2 hours on Sunday. So
that sounds fun. Oh, while we're doing shout outs, what about a shout out to Libby Joyce who won, like you said earlier, but then did you some TOing too?
Oh yeah, she was there till midnight TOing, nearly midnight TOing. So she spent like 10 hours TOing for us, which was and she kept us so entertained out there, and B and Libby and Michelle and Sam, they ate it off so well. They were constantly telling jokes and chatting, and it felt like one of them first ever community events that we ever used to do. When people rocked up, I remember the first Overload we did, we had 300 people rock up, and out of the 300, I probably knew 280 of them. And it felt very much along them lines that the community were back. Everyone was helping everyone. Jason Brunnock drove all the way from Essex to bring Dassos some socks.
Wow.
On the Sunday morning, Russell had got indigestion and was struggling to compete. So I think James Burton went to a local shop and bought him some Gaviscon tablets. The community was back in. It was like amazing. It was really, really good.
It was. And shout out to Katie Joyce, who had to leave Libby and then come and pick her up.
Yeah. Oh, shout out to my Mrs. Paula as well. because we'd only eaten sporadically. But on the Saturday, she came down and brought us chili with guacamole and sour cream, and oh yeah, we had chili, mate. It was like at 9 o'clock at night, we was cooking chili. It was great.
If this hole in my road doesn't get fixed, and I miss chili, I'm not going to be happy. Oh gosh. So I guess the only thing I have to say, I know we don't talk about the race a lot on the show. We have talked about it a hell of a lot today, but I'm sure the listener will forgive us. Let's try and make next year even bigger and better. Listener, Alan have said no, it is bank holiday weekend in August. I know bank holiday weekend is one of them that people tend to do stuff. Book the race, no. Just, we're about to stop the podcast in maybe a couple of minutes from now. When we finished, go out, book the race, do Find Me Out Jam, do Overlord. Just get yourself a ticket now, because it's then in your calendar and you will make yourself do it, because you'll think what a cool experience it is.
Definitely. I will create some on Overload's Facebook page. We'll create some events on there so people can sign up. I think it's currently only £40 as well. So the early bird price, and as our promise is always, no one will ever get it cheaper than our early bird price.
40 quid, even if you get injured in the next 15 months. And to be fair, Alan tends to be quite nice when it comes to people, nicer than he should be when it comes to people deferring. But yeah, even if you get injured and you lose the 40 quid, it's, in the grand scheme of things, only 40 quid. But if you're there, you can say you were there at the biggest summer party of the OCR calendar 2025.
2025, yeah. 2025. So yeah, anyway, I've finished about talking about Overload. So that's it from me.
I think we're completely past the lock-in stage at this stage. Nothing more on the notes. Sure, there'll be more for us to talk about next week, Alan, on lots of other topics, but I'm going to say it's goodbye from me.
And listeners, Ian, it's absolutely been a pleasure as always. You take care, you stay safe, keep on running, and we'll speak to you all soon.